Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about mental health and university, which are two big parts of my life. I'm making it through my first year of university with a mental illness. I have learned some stuff that I would like to pass on to you, as a lot of people in my Q&A video said that they would like to see this kind of video, and haven't really seen videos like this, and this would be helpful for me to look back on and for some of you guys. Now I've made notes on my phone and I've got a nice coffee and this cute little cat mug. You've seen me looking up and about and stuff. Just ignore all of that and listen to what I have to offer you. The first point I have to make is always put your health before work. Now this is really hard because lecturers and stuff will put all this pressure on you, and like your family and stuff like, are you working, are you doing your work? And like even you put yourself pressure on yourself because you're like, oh, I'm spending all this money now, because university has become ridiculously expensive and you don't want to be in debt for no reason. You want to get the best out of it as you can. And yeah, so you put a lot of pressure on yourself to do the best work you can. And sometimes you neglect your health by doing that. And sometimes you've got to realise that in order for you to work, you need to be well. And if you're not well and trying to work, you're not going to get the results you want. For me to remember that I need to sometimes like take a step back from pressuring myself with work, I have a sign up on one of my shelves, basically for me to look at and remember. It's bright orange, got a butterfly on it, decorated it, all that. And it says, one of the things it says is, if you're having a bad day, no work, no guilt, because I always felt guilty and that made me feel worse. I felt guilty for not doing the work I was supposed to be doing, but you shouldn't. You should be using that time to do things like self-soothe, self-care, and I'll go into more detail throughout this video about what that involves. And yeah, so you've just got to remember to put your health before work. Number 2, have support in place before coming to uni. Now, if you can organise a support network before coming to university, your first few months will be so much easier, because the first few months are usually the hardest because you don't know anyone, your family's usually far away, your friends are all far away, and it's very isolating, and not necessarily everyone, especially if you have social anxiety, for example, not everyone's going to be good at making friends and telling friends how they feel and stuff. So you kind of put it all inwards, and if you have support in place from services and things, then you can feel less alone and able to like unburden yourself and express outwards rather than inwards. And examples of some support you can get, if you tell your university that you do have mental health problems, there's mentoring services. Well, this is at Falmouth University anyway. You can have mentoring services who can just check in with you, talk through how things are going, maybe talk to lecturers on your behalf if you're struggling. Then there's also counselling services sometimes with universities. I know there's long waiting lists. Other support you can have is, for example, keeping in contact with family. So like with the internet nowadays, so like if you can FaceTime, if you can talk on the phone regularly with friends and family, they can still support you even if you're far away. Just because you've moved location these days doesn't necessarily mean you've lost contact with them. And it's important to keep communicating with those who know you the best, because they'll probably notice, even in like the tone of your voice or something on the phone. I get this with my parents, they can tell when I'm okay or not, like sometimes on the phone. And yeah, I think that's important. And if you have any mental health services involved already, so for example the community mental health team, and you have a CPN and stuff, you can still see them and they can still support you whilst at uni. And transferring services can be complicated, but if you have a plan, if you've planned it in advance and you're going to uni, plan it with your current mental health team. You don't have to stop your support from NHS services just because you're moving. You can relocate, and it will be hard and it will be stressful, but it can save your life. My experience I had was with the community mental health team. Then I got really unwell and had to go with the home treatment team, who were able to still come and visit me in halls. So like, don't think that they can't treat you because you're at uni, they still can. you are an adult living in the community, so they can still help you basically. And also online support. So one thing that I did use was, I have bipolar, so I used Bipolar UK's e-community, and they had a whole section on university and having bipolar, which was actually helpful to just chat with other people who've also got the same thing and also doing the same thing, because a lot of the time it's not really geared towards students, because a lot of people with mental health problems aren't at uni because of their health problems. So there needs to be more support for when you actually are making your way either into work. You can apply this to work as well as university. I'm just using university because I'm a student and that's what I relate to. So yeah, make sure you have a support network. If you find someone that you know when you've met someone that you want to be friends with and you think that you can trust them, tell them, and they can become part of your support network. My next point is to have activities where you can just forget about all your problems. So uni has lots of societies and stuff, so not really my thing, but if you would like to get involved with societies, that could keep your mind off it. So like sport, or what other things can you keep your mind, like drawing, art. Just think about something completely different for a bit. Read a book, you know. Just have one activity a day that you do where you're not thinking about work and you're not thinking about your problems. You're thinking about something different. So recently I got a skateboard, and the plan is for me, I know me, to get on that board every day and just for that moment just concentrate on learning how to skateboard. Okay. Balance your time between friends and alone time. Now this is important and something that I'm still struggling with, but basically you can't always be on your own and you can't always be with your friends, because if you're always with friends, when you are alone it becomes a bigger deal and it becomes a struggle. And if you're alone all the time, then how are you going to let anyone support you? You can't do this on your own. That's a point I want to stress in this video. You cannot go to university with a mental illness and do it all on your own. You can't, you just can't. Number 5, visual notes around the room. I already mentioned this. I have another thing that I use is a mood scale from Bipolar UK, and it just makes me look at it and check that my mood balanced or not. It's really good resources. So if you have anxiety, go on anxiety.org. Can't remember the name of the organisation, Anxiety UK I think it is. If you have an eating disorder, maybe Beat. There's lots of good charities and websites. Mind is always a really good one. And yeah, just have visual notes. There's lots of printouts and things that you can stick around your room or make your own, you know, because sometimes when like I'm in a depressed state, I'll just be on that bed in a curled up ball and like looking around my room and just like not really doing anything. But if I look around my room and spot something of what to do when I'm having a bad episode, I will get up and try and do it at least. Not always, because sometimes it can be a really bad depressive episode, but yeah. Number 6, tell your lecturers. Okay, you have to tell your lecturers what's going on and keep communication up with them. I didn't do that last year. I just ignored any emails. I just put it all in a pile. Like if I got letters about it, or if I just put it all in a pile and just was like, I'll deal with that another time, I'll deal with that another time, just put it off, because I just couldn't face it at the time. But if you, in the early stages, let them know you have a mental illness, and sometimes, you know, work might be a bit late or you might not be there because you've got appointments and things, just communicate and tell them, because then they can help you on the course. Or if you have a mentor, they can help you communicate and make it easier. So yeah, tell your lecturers. Okay, number 7, self-care. Now self-care, or self-soothe, some people like to call it, was a big part of DBT, dialectical behaviour therapy, which I did for 2 years. And recently I found out I'm going back to do a DBT type course, group therapy course. So that will be helpful. There are group therapies out there. Therapy is a good thing. But yeah, self-care, that necessarily mean that can mean the basics, so showering, eating, sleeping, like just the core things that you need to function. Because if you don't shower for a week, if you hardly sleep, if you don't really eat and things like that, it can affect your mental health and worsen the condition. So as if you try to look after yourself as much as possible, yes, you will still get symptoms, but maybe you'll just be not as bad, basically. Okay, number 8, limit drugs and alcohol. Again, didn't do this last year, but yes, uni is about having a good time as well, but alcohol, for example, is a depressant. So if you have depression and you're drinking a lot, it's not going to help. Make sure you do everything in moderation if you are going to, and just because other people are doing it doesn't mean you have to. And yeah, you're probably thinking, meh, 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 you're just being a little like goody two shoes or like preachy. I'm not being preachy, I'm just saying from my experience it's worth not going as far as everyone else does, because they don't have a mental illness, they don't have to have the like the shit that comes back afterwards. They don't necessarily get that. Some people don't get hangovers, for example, but some people get really bad hangovers. So just on a, you know your limit, and for some people that might be 4 beers, some people it might be 8 beers. You know you have a limit, and stick to that limit, and maybe pace yourself with someone else who doesn't want to drink or whatever. Maybe pace yourself with them. Number 9, set little goals. Don't set massive goals. So my goal was at the start of this year was to go into everything, all the things at uni. Considering last year my attendance was like maybe 1 or 2 things a week, I'd end up making it 2, which is really bad. But I should have set a smaller goal, maybe reaching something at uni related every day. So like whether that's getting out my sketchbook, if that is going to the lecture, going to the seminar, just setting smaller goals, because they're more reachable, and when you reach them you feel more motivated, and when you feel more motivated then you're more likely to go to uni. Number 10, talk to someone. I think I've said this a million times. Talk. You need to talk about it. You can't, I'm sorry, you can't just keep it in your head, because you need to almost put it out there in order to process it. I don't know, in order for it, you need to bounce it off someone in order for it to make sense, and to like go through the thought and rethink the thought, and with rethinking the thought you rethink the actions you make. So for example, if you have an eating disorder and the thoughts become too much, your way of dealing with it is controlling your food, because you can't control your thoughts, for example. But what you should do is talk about those thoughts and try and control them with help from other people by talking about it and going through the thoughts rather than acting on the behaviours. Number 11, write how you're feeling. So as I said, if you can't talk to someone, if you really can't, sorry, I think there's someone in the kitchen. But basically, write how you feel. Write down just your trail of thought, even. Just bleh onto a piece of paper, or type it on your phone in your notes, and you'll feel like you've got it out of your system a bit. Number 12, I have 2 apps full. Headspace is the first one, which is a mindfulness-based app. And if you haven't heard about mindfulness, maybe I'll do a whole video on mindfulness, that might be interesting. But yeah, it's just like concentrating on the present, letting your thoughts come into your head and go, and not grabbing onto them and ruminating and thinking, just letting everything go by. And Headspace is like a tool, like a guided meditation app, and yeah, the first 10 sessions on there are free, I'm pretty sure, and then it's a paid subscription like Spotify. And then another app is Mood Notes. Now if you have a mood disorder, this would be great, as sometimes you lose track of how you felt each day, because your mood goes up and down, or you just can't remember if there was ever a good day, or you can't remember if there was ever a bad day. Just log every day little things about your mood and your thoughts, and it saves it for you on iCloud. It syncs to all your devices, and it is £2.99. I'm not sponsored or anything, but I think that's a really good price for what it does. And yeah, that's a really good app to use, and that is all the points we do it. I will quickly go and ask my flatmates if they have any advice. So okay.
I feel uncomfortable being filmed, so I'm not going to show my face, but a top tip would be to keep your room tidy, to have a nice atmosphere.
Ed, do you have any tips on dealing with mental health at university?
Well, I would say keep it simple, keep it flappy, keep it sloppy. Make some toast, dance, fill your life with the right kind of people. Music, trampolines, weed, sex.
In moderation.
No, lots of sex. So much sex.